Everyone, can you please unmute? Danny, hey, Felix, can you please unmute? Can you put your hand at your chest?
No.
Nakri, can you put your hand at your chest? Everyone say, hello, Venerable Sir.
Hello, Venerable.
Hello, Venerable Sir.
So I'm waiting for my rights. I'm waiting for my rights. Nice, that's much better. All right, so let's sit in a comfortable meditation posture. Make sure your back is erect, side cast down. So we're still not recording, we're still not live streaming. So we will be waiting until the recording and live streaming starts. So we are now waiting until the live streaming starts.
Yes.
Very well. So make sure you're not sending anyone to the to the breakout room during our meditation. And as we keep our back erect, side cast down, we will make the first determination in our minds voicelessly. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. We keep our eyes open, but we see the floor in front of us. And we will not be looking to the front, to the left, right, or above. Instead, we look below. We look right in front of us on the floor. We don't pay attention to that what's on the floor. We will pay attention to the instruction. And we can make the first determination in our minds voicelessly. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. And with that determination, we can gently, lovingly notice the flat piece of flesh at the top of the head. We allow it to be heavy. We continue in this manner to the forehead, eyes, nose, lips, chin, cheeks, ears, back of the head. We allow all of the muscles and flesh throughout the head to be heavy. And we check whether our eyes are a little open and whether we see the floor in front of us. You can blink as much as you can, as much as you want. You can also keep your eyes closed if they're painful or if tears are coming in them or if insects disturb you. But otherwise we keep the eyes open a little bit, not too much, about a half or less. And we continue to the neck, shoulders, arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, palms, fingers, tips of fingers, chest, abdomen, back, we allow all of the muscles and flesh throughout the upper part of the body to be heavy and changing. We continue to the buttocks, thighs, knees, calves, heels, soles, toes, tips of toes. We allow all of the muscles and flesh throughout the body to be heavy. And we check whether our eyes are a little open so we see the floor in front of us. And we enjoy this heaviness. We allow all of the body parts to be heavy. But even though the body is so heavy, we don't change our posture, we keep the back erect. Now, as we allow the body to be the way it is, as we give the body the freedom to be the way it is, we ourselves achieve freedom from worry about the body. Let's enjoy this freedom. Let's watch this piece. Now, as we have achieved peace in our mind, we can share it with other living beings. In our minds, voicelessly, we will wish, we will allow, may all beings, including me, be in peace. May all beings, including me, be in peace. because the time for this sitting is finished, let's make the last determination in our minds voicelessly. From now on, I will always be calm. From now on, I will always be calm. From now on, I will always be calm. And with that determination, we can slowly, mindfully change the way of our sitting. When we have changed the way of our sitting, let's take 1 minute during which we will be watching the mind. Whatever is happening in the mind, we want to know it. Is it feeling or a thought? Or is it peace? Is it seeing or hearing? Whatever happens, we are curious about what is it. Very well. So let's move on to our recitation. Felix, when you do not meditate, if you meet with a monk or if you are close to the Buddha, make sure you do not stretch your legs in that direction, okay? You can stretch your legs to a totally different direction, but not towards that direction or nearby. Is it clear, Felix? Felix? Okay, good. Fine. So now we will be doing our recitation because all of you, or hopefully all of you, know the recitation. Let's do it without the paper. So I would like to ask everybody to unmute right away. Yes. Seems like Jekiwa still has the problem. Actually, you know, Jekiwa, it's probably because you have two devices on. It seems that there is somebody, maybe your parent or friend or brother or sister, who are also listening to us. That's why you have that problem. So I see we are again getting a little wild in the chat box. No need. So Nathan wants to tell me that 3 people go to bathroom. Let him to tell me. There's nothing wrong about that. Rather than discussing so and so what Chelsea, exactly what I was asking. So like you're losing your time, useless. All right. So seems like Jekiwa has resolved the problem. Yeah, you have moved to a different room. Sounds good. So everybody can keep your hands at the chest together, and we can start. Yamahang vadami tang vadetha.
Mahapade
Aham bhante
Ahapade
tisaranena saha
Saha
panchasilang dhammang yajami.
Pancasilan Jamanya Jami
Anugaham katva
Anugaham Katwa
silang detha me bhante
Silam Pande
anukampang upadaya.
Anukampang Upadaya
Dutiyampi aham bhante
Tudiyampi Hambante
tisaranena saha
Isaranena Saha
panchasilang dhammang yajami.
Pancasilan Jami
Anugaham katva
Anugaham
silang detha me bhante
Kirani Jami Bande
anukampang upadaya.
Anukampang Upadaya
Tatiyampi aham bhante
Tudiyampi Hambante
tisaranena saha
Isaranena Saha
panchasilang dhammang yajami.
Pancasilan Jami
Anugaham katva
Anugerah Katwa
silang detha me bhante
Silang Jami Bande
anukampang upadaya.
Anukampang Upadaya
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo Bhagavata Arahato Sammasambuddhassa
Once more. Once more.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa
And one more time.
Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammasambuddhassa
Yes. When a monk says Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa one time, remember that you need to say it 3 times. Okay? Let's continue. Buddhang saranang gacchami, dhammang saranang gacchami, sanghang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Udiyampi gacchami
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami, tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Saranaгаmanang paripunnang. So, min kwa, what is the first precept? Yes, min kwa, what is the first precept? I cannot hear you. Can you come closer to the camera and tell me what's the first precept? No, I cannot hear you. Minka, what is the first precept? Sorry? Oh, you don't know. So think about it. Say something. What could it be? What could it be? Any idea? Minka?
Oh, I got no idea.
What could it be?
Where did I just go?
Did you ever take precepts with us before? Did you ever take precepts with us before? Minka?
Yes.
Yes, you did? Okay. So, do you remember that we were saying what are those 5 precepts? Do you remember that we were saying the 5 precepts also in English?
What are the 5 precepts? Tell me.
Yeah, you do remember that we said in English? Okay, that's good. So, could you remember at least one out of the 5? Any of them?
Oh yeah.
I remember I'm refraining from sexual misconduct.
That's pretty good. Could you remember any other one? No other one? So, Lucas, can you help Minkoa? What is the first precept? Lucas, do you remember any of the 5 precepts? Can you tell us at least one?
No stealing.
But that's not the first one. Do you remember any other one?
No killing.
That's right. Thank you very much. So, Minkoa, what is the first precept? No, you do not need to unmute. We are always unmuted during this.
I didn't hear what you said.
You didn't hear it, so Lucas, can you please say it again?
No killing.
That's right. So, Minkoa, did you hear it? Can you say it? What is the first precept?
No stealing.
No. So, Lucas, it seems we have some technical problem. Can you say it once more?
I think everyone's being too loud.
You did say very, very well, but technical are difficult. So, can you say it once more? Yes. So, Minkoa, did you hear it? Can you say what is the first precept?
It's like no something. Okay.
So, how will you resolve it, Minkoa? So, Lucas has said it already 3 times, and you still somehow didn't hear it. So, Lucas, now you will have to show your extraordinary compassion and loving kindness and say it once more.
No killing.
So, Minkoa,
No killing.
now?
No killing.
Perfect. Well done. So let's get into the recitation. Remember to keep your hands together at the chest. Panati pata vera manisika padang samadhyami. Okay, very well. Shejui kui nguyen. Can you tell me what is the second precept? I cannot hear you. Can you come closer to the camera? I don't hear you at all.
Second precept is to not steal from others.
That's right. So everybody remember to keep your hands together at the chest. Adinna dana vera manisika padang samadhyami. Okay. Now let's ask Yui Kiem. Eric, what is the third precept?
Don't break others' relationships.
No breaking others' relationships. Very good. Van An, can you tell us what is the other way how to say it? You don't need to mute or unmute. We are always unmuted during this. So just keep it as it is and just tell me the answer. Van Nguyen. You're now muted, so you need to unmute. Okay. So what is the third precept in other words? Yeah, I cannot hear you. Can you come closer to the camera? Van Nguyet. What is the third precept? Seems like you're searching something. Are you here with us? Van Nguyet. I'm calling you. Van Nguyet. Are you here? Van Nguyet. I think she's gone. I can't find her. Is she? Okay, seems like she's gone. So let's continue by Diana. Diana, what is the other way how to say not breaking others' relationships? The third precept.
First precept.
Third, number 3.
Number 3, do not tell lie.
No, that's something else. What is the third precept?
First precept.
Yeah, number 3. What is the precept number 3?
Do not kill other
No,
beings.
that's not, no. What is the precept number 3? We already had not killing, right? We already had not stealing, so it cannot be a precept number 3. What is the precept number 3, Diana? Any idea?
Love me. Precept number 3.
I cannot hear you well. Can you come closer to the camera?
Precept number 3.
Yeah.
Do not kill. It's not
I cannot hear you. What is the precept number 3?
precept number 3. Do not kill.
No, killing is precept number 1.
Precept number 3 is no stealing.
No, that's precept number 2. Precept number 3.
Relationship.
Not break relationships, okay. Would you know how to say it in other words?
Follow the rule of refraining from
What is that? I cannot hear you well. Can you talk louder?
sexual misconduct.
That's right, sexual misconduct. So you can remember it as not breaking others' relationships. You can also remember it as no sexual misconduct. Very well. So you can keep your hands together at the chest. And you can repeat after me. Kame sumichhachara vera mansikha padang samadhiyami. So now the fourth precept, Ariel. Ariel, can you tell me what is the precept 4?
Do not tell lies.
That's right. But I think I asked Ariel. Ariel, I'm not sure whether it was you who answered. Did you answer, Ariel?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So, okay. Make sure you keep your hands together at the chest. Musavada vera manisikha padang samadhiyami. Very well. So now precept number 5, Crixus. Grixis, what is the precept number 5? Grixis, I cannot hear you. Can you come closer?
I don't know.
Sorry?
I don't know.
You don't know, so try. Say something you believe that it could be. What could it be? What do you think, Grixis?
Là gì vậy?
Grixis, try to think. Yes? Grixis, I asked you to tell me the 5th precept, not to play with your lips. So what is the 5th precept?
I didn't think about anything.
And nothing comes to your mind? What could it be? Any idea? If you were the Buddha, what would you decide as the 5th precept? What do people do that they should not do? Grixis.
Not doing drugs.
Amazing! Wow, very good. Very good, you see? You got it right. And I will ask Sian. Sian, are you here with us? Sian. Yes, you need to be unmuted all the time. So we now learned that the 5th precept is not taking drugs. Is there something else for the 5th precept that you should not be taking? Sian. Sian, I cannot hear you. Come close to the microphone and tell us. What more should you not be taking in addition to drugs?
I know.
That's right, alcohol. Thank you very much. So everybody, make sure you keep your hands together at the chest. Sura meraya majjapamada thana vera manisikha padang samadhiyami. Tisaranena saddhing panchasilang dhammang sadhukang surakkidang katva appamadena sampaditha. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you soon attain the eternal bliss of Nibbana. Okay. So you have your notebook, right? Previously, I think I asked you to have a notebook. Who of you has notebook? Please, paper notebook. Please raise your Zoom hand. You need to have a notebook for our classes. Ideally, you write your homework in your notebook, so you would already have it. Then you have your notebook, so raise your hand. Anyone else? Raise your hand. So Edward, do you have a notebook? Edward is gone to take his notebook. Vonyat Hui, you have notebook, so please raise your hand. You have notebook, so raise your hand. Vonyat Hui. You do not need to raise the notebook, you need to raise your hand. And Huang Tuan Min, do you have a notebook?
Yes.
So raise your hand, raise your Zoom hand. Do you know how to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Cherry, do you have a notebook?
No, I just use paper.
You need to have a notebook, you know? Like
Okay.
it can be eaten up by a dog and it's gone. So we want to have a notebook, all right? That stays a little longer. Okay, Edward, have you found your notebook? Okay. May, you have a notebook, so you need to raise your hand. No need to raise your notebook. May, you need to raise your Zoom hand. Do you know how to do that? So you have your notebook, so raise your hand. Great. Dustin, do you have a notebook?
No, I have it right now.
You're stuck a little. So Dustin, can you please unmute yourself and tell me whether you have a notebook?
I have a notebook, but I think my sister's using it right now.
Well, that means that you don't have your own notebook, so that's a problem.
Oh, wait, a notebook or the book?
A notebook. It is.
I have a notebook.
Is several papers bound together by a harder cover.
Yeah, I have a
It
notebook.
is used for writing notes. That's a notebook.
Yeah, I have a notebook.
Do you have a notebook like that for yourself that you do not
Oh, yeah.
give anyone? Okay, so please raise your Zoom hand. Vu Mimi, do you have a notebook?
Yes, Venerable Sir.
So you need to raise your Zoom hand. Do you know how to raise your Zoom
Yes.
hand?
Yes, I can.
So I'm waiting for that. Okay. Crixus, do you have a notebook?
What notebook?
Notebook are several papers bound together by a harder cover, and they're used for making notes, for writing down notes. Do you have that?
No.
You have that? Okay. Fan Bien Tan Fong, are you here with us? I don't see your face. Or is that an assistant?
That is a student, Devante.
It's a student, but I don't see her face. Did she say that she will go to toilet? Let's check that out. She said, "Can I go out?" No. You cannot go out. You can go to toilet, but you cannot go out, okay? That doesn't work. But anyway, she has written something. There he goes. So, Fan Nguyen, Tan Fong, you cannot say that you go out. We need to know, where do you go? Do you go to bathroom? Or did you break your hand so you're going to hospital? Or what happened? We need to know, okay? I cannot hear you.
Yes.
Perfect. So, Fan Nguyen, Tan Fong, do you have a notebook?
Yes.
Perfect. So can you please raise your Zoom hand? Perfect. So remained Cherry and Crixus. So Cherry and Crixus, you know what you can, Cherry, do you have any idea how you can get a notebook?
Well, I do have a notebook, but I just don't use it.
Where is the notebook?
Downstairs.
So I'm waiting until you bring it. Crixus, do you have any idea how you can get a notebook? No idea? No. Do you think there is nobody in the world who could get you a notebook? What do you think, Crixus? Do you have any idea, any plan how you could get a notebook? No. If you want to eat something, who will you tell? I don't hear.
My parents?
You will tell your parents, I see. Now, if you want to take and get a notebook, then who would you tell?
My parents?
Probably your parents, right? Now, if you ask your parents for a notebook, what may they say? Crixus, if you ask your parents for a notebook, what may they say?
I don't know.
You have no idea? Okay. So did you ever try before to ask your parents for a notebook?
No.
You never tried. Okay. So would you like to try?
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. So now please, organizers, remove all the hands. Okay, so make sure you don't have your hand up unless you have a question. And now you will be writing in your notebook. You will open your notebook and on a totally new page, you will write the date. Today is August 19, 2023 in Vietnam and in Myanmar also. But if you're in the US, today is August 18, 2023. That's if you're in the US, okay? So this is how you write it. So you open up your notebook, you take a pen or pencil, and you need to write that at the top left corner of your notebook. It needs to be clear and beautiful. See if you can do that. I'm waiting for you. As soon as you have written it down, raise your hand. We want to have all of your hands up after you write down nicely August 18, 2023 if you're in the US, August 19, 2023 if you're in Myanmar or Vietnam, and then you need to raise your hand. Raise your hand after you have finished writing it. So we want to have all of the hands up, write it nicely, and then raise your hand. Waiting for you. Needs to be nice, but should not take you too long, okay?
No, but sir, I forgot. What you say that we were writing? I
It's
know
in the
that
chat box. Nathan, you love to use the chat box so much, so now is the time to use it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Venerable sir, just one thing. Is the U.S. time same as Jamaica? Is the U.S. one the
Yes.
same as the Jamaica
Yes,
one?
that's right. The same as
Oh
Jamaica.
yeah, because I'm in Jamaica.
Yes. So, Vonyat Hui, did you already write the date?
Yes.
So, you need to raise your hand. To raise your Zoom hand. All of you who have finished writing your date, you need to raise your hand. Baolam, did you already finish writing the date?
No.
Sorry, did you finish writing the date?
No,
So, what's the problem?
I don't see my book, and it's not here.
Oh, you don't have your book. I see. But previously you raised your hand that you have a book, right?
Yes, I have a book, but I don't have it here.
I see. So what shall you do to have the book? You need to have it right now. Any idea?
No, mà ra đây không sao đâu. Kệ đi.
No idea? Are you sure that your book is somewhere else? That you will be able to easily find it?
No, it's up my house.
So can you go there and take it?
No, it's take an hour.
Oh, it would take an hour to take it? I see. Are you sure that your notebook is there?
Yes, I put it there because I think I will learn your meeting up there, but I don't think that I will go down to my grandma's house.
I see. So, what do you think would be the best solution now when you need to write down a note?
I don't know.
You have no idea at all? See if you can find a solution.
I think I will take a paper, then I will write it again.
Amazing, very well.
Good. Wait. Venerable sir? Well,
Yes.
also, is there any way to disable like anybody like going through the chat? Because I see some people going through the chat, so sometimes for a little I couldn't for like your writing. Is there any way you could like disable chat for all the rest of the people except like you and the co-host? Like the co-host and the host. Is there any way you can do that? Like disable chat? Is there any way you could disable chat for me and everyone so nobody types so you can't see the message anymore? Which almost happened to me right now.
I'm not exactly sure that I understand. What do you mean by disabled cat? Did you say that?
No, disabled chat.
Oh, disable the chat. I see. I was wondering what is the connection between disabled cat and the organizers. Okay, well, no, we do not disable the chat. Until there are some serious problems, we will not disable it. Because I want you to have your freedom of speech up to the level that's possible. Okay, freedom of speech is very important for me, and I want you all also to train yourself in your freedom of speech. So you need to have the freedom to say whatever you feel, whatever you want to say, unless of course you start to say some vulgar words, or you start to damage the course or something like that. The chat will be open, and so
Oh,
I didn't see there any problematic thing. I know that sometimes it gets wild, but not a problem.
I was wondering because my chat just scrolls once another message pops up, and if people keep on putting messages, I just won't be able to see it. But I finished the date right now, and there are a lot of messages, so when I go, I can't see it
I
anymore.
see.
That's my problem, and I'm also done.
So Felix forgot the date in the US, so you will have to scroll up in your chat box and you will see their message from me, which starts by August 18, 2023. And you have there the note in the brackets US, so that you know this is the date for the US. May, did you finish writing your date? But you did not raise your hand. You need to raise your hand. Felix, did you finish writing the date?
No,
So are you working on it, or do you have any problem?
I can't see it.
You can't see it. Okay, I'll write it again. So for you, it will be August 18, 2023. Now, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so we are waiting for you. Jernvu. Kanfu. Have you finished writing the date? Sorry, I don't hear you. Jernvu. Kanfu. Have you finished writing the date?
No.
No? What's the problem? So did you finish writing the date?
No.
You
I
didn't finish.
I write the date.
So what's the problem? Did you write the date? Come closer to the camera and tell us what's the problem. Come closer.
I don't know.
Come closer. Yeah.
I don't know.
What you don't know? How can I help you?
You said I have to finish my days, but where do I write the date?
Yes, you write it at the top left corner of the new page. So the first new page in your notebook, whatever is the first blank page, great. Now find the left top corner. Do you know the left top corner? The most left, the most top place. And there you write the date. It is August 19, 2023 for you. You can also open the chat. It's there right now.
Oh, okay. August
So Dustin, did you finish writing the date?
Yes.
You did, so I don't see your hand up. You need to raise your Zoom hand. Good. And Jasmine?
Yeah.
You finished writing the date?
Yeah.
So you need to raise your Zoom hand.
Okay.
Fan Nguyen, Tan Phong. You finished writing the date?
Yes.
Great. So always remember to raise the hand when I ask you all to raise your hands when you finish something. Huang Tuang Min, have you finished writing the date? Huang Tuang Min, are you here with us? Did you finish writing your date?
Yeah.
You did, but you did not raise your Zoom hand. You need to raise your Zoom hand.
Okay.
So Jiang Wu, Kan Fu, have you finished writing the date?
Yes.
So what should you do now? What should you do? After you finished writing your date, what should you do? Sorry. That's fine, but what should you do now when it's done? When it's done?
I can't hear you well.
I see. What should you do now when you have finished writing your date? What would be the best thing to do? Any idea what the other students have done? No idea. You don't know what the other students have done
I have
after
no
they
idea.
finished? You have no idea what they did after they finished writing their date? No idea?
No idea.
Wow. You're the only person in the whole class who doesn't know that. You really have no idea?
Yeah, I really have no idea.
Okay. So after I said that after you finish writing your date, you need to raise your Zoom hand.
Ah, okay.
Okay, I'm happy you realized it now. Nice. So the organizers can now. Okay, wait. We are waiting for Crixus. Crixus, are you here with us? I don't see your video. Crixus, have you finished writing your date?
What date?
The date of today. You need to write the today date in your notebook. Do you have notebook? You don't have a notebook, right? So what should you do if you don't have a notebook? Any idea? How will you write notes?
My parents said what notebook?
Well, if you don't have any notebook, then what would be the best solution to write your notes?
A piece of paper?
Sorry? Crixus?
A piece of paper?
You could take a piece of paper. I'm waiting for that.
Okay.
Okay, May, we all know that you have finished. No need to show it to us. And we are now waiting for Crixus. All right, so hopefully next time you all will be very fast in raising your hand whenever you finish writing your date. You need to be fast, see? Otherwise we'll be waiting for you. So Crixus, do you know what's the date today? Crixus, do you know what's the date today?
Um,
Do you know the date? Crixus. So I'm sending to you in the chat box the date. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Can you write it down? You need to find out the top left corner of your paper. Can you see the top left corner of your paper?
Yeah.
So you need to write it there. August 18, 2023. Okay, when you have finished, you need to raise your Zoom hand. So I'm waiting until you raise your Zoom hand that you finished. Perfect. So organizers can remove all of the hands. Okay. So now it's the end of our class. Isn't that amazing? So I will write. I will not write for you anything because we don't have time for that. But we'll continue in this next time. So remember next time that when you're writing your date, you need to write it at the top left corner. In this class, some different teachers will teach you something else. No problem. Some teachers will teach you some different ways how to write the date, but you need to write it the way I'm teaching you because that's the suitable way of writing date in your notebook. All right? Because it's very clear and you can easily find whatever you want. Now, we'll be reading the homework. Whoever wants to go to sleep, you can. And homework. So Franklin, Livia, and Van An, please raise your Zoom hand. Franklin, Livia, and Van An. Do we have Van An? Van An had the problem with the third precept, right? Van An, are you here? There you are. So Van An, you need to raise your hand.
Vâng Anh, can you please raise your hand?
Van An is gone. Right? So we have to choose somebody else. Yes, then he can go to sleep. So did we choose somebody else for reading the homework?
Edward, please, Bante.
Sorry?
Bante, Edward too, please, Bante.
Oh, Edward too. Okay, so Edward, can you please raise your hand? So let's listen to Livia. Livia, I'm listening to your homework.
Oldest being or beings in your mind and in your heart.
I didn't hear you. Can you come closer to the camera and read loudly?
Bedtime prayers for peace. Oldest being or beings in your mind and in your heart.
Very well. Thank you very much. But yes, that's correct. Franklin?
Bedtime prayers for peace. Now, is there someone in your life who needs help and be love right now?
And love right now. Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Edward?
Now, is there someone in your life who needs some help and love right now?
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. Very well.
Prayer for peace. I forgot to say before. So
Okay. So, next homework will be so you had bedtime prayers for peace, and you also had drifting off, right? Did you have drifting off?
Yes, for day.
Good. So next homework will be it's gone. That's all. Book is finished. Book is finished. It's done. So that means
Yes.
that we are moving to something totally else.
If Evelyn doesn't remember, I can give her one of my books. I have 2 books. That was an accident.
Are you gonna use a new book?
So what's coming is a very different system that's coming, and that is that we will not be actually reading homework, but we will be reading together. I will be actually reading for you. So you'll be looking at the text and we will be reading it together. I will be actually the one who will be reading it, and I will be explaining to you in detail. We will be discussing the birth of the Buddha. How was the Buddha born? And
That's cool.
we'll be discussing the childhood of the Buddha to be. So we will be looking at it at a very old English text. So I'll be explaining to you some English words and some basic concepts. Yeah, Balaam, if you are afraid that your battery is running out, well then just leave, no problem. There's nothing new coming. So you do not have any homework, and you probably will not have it for a long time. So well done. So now what's more important is that you actually come for the lectures, because if you don't come, then now it is a little serious, because there is no homework that could show that you did some work. All right. So you will have to be coming. You cannot just say, I will just watch the recording. Cannot. You need to come personally and be here. All right. If you miss one time, doesn't matter. Miss 2 times, doesn't matter. If you miss 3 times, you're disqualified. And it's very strict, because you can be requalified only next year in February. So this will be very strict now. Okay. You don't have a homework, but you must come. And you must come on time. All right. You need to have working camera, not like Evelyn Han or Van An, who don't have camera on. That doesn't work. Okay, your camera must be nicely on, and there will be a lot to learn. A lot. So I'm looking forward to meeting you next time. Does anyone have any questions? Let's answer them right away. Franklin, what can I do for you? If you want to check whether you will have any more homework, I'm saying it again, there is no homework for probably for the rest of the next year, and our year finishes in February, okay? So maybe there will be some homework, I don't know, but for the time being, no homework. For probably a long time. Chelsea? Yes, I'm listening to you. Chelsea. I cannot hear you at all. Can you come closer to the camera?
I accidentally raised my hand.
You didn't raise your hand, but it's raised. So always be careful about that. Alex, what can I do for you?
Yeah, why are we like learning about the Buddha being born?
Why will you be reading? Because that's basic knowledge for somebody who knows something about Buddhism. Now, this is a class of Buddhism where you learn basic knowledge about Buddhism. So, because you're coming to a class about basics about Buddhism, you will have to learn some basics about Buddhism. Does that make sense?
General sir, thank you.
Nice. Bennett? I cannot hear you. You're muted. So,
Can I leave now?
yes, please. Yes, please. Good night. Cherry?
So when you said about the Buddha being born, so didn't you do that last year when we started or something?
You
Last
are
year?
possibly repeating. You're possibly repeating because I did not. Let's say that. I did not
Finish.
that you have enough knowledge to continue to the higher grade. So we have now 4 grades. We have grade 1, 2, and then 4 and 5. And for those who are 6 to 11 years old, we have grade 1 and 2. Those who are 12 to 18 years old, or 12 to 17 years old, we have grade 4 and 5. So when I decided about these classes in February this year, I was selecting people who are sufficiently experienced to go to grade 2 right away, and those who are rather starting, so they had to be in grade 1. And you're probably one of them. So you are basically repeating because you came, to my classes a little later than the other students. So it would not be fair towards the other students who already followed like 2 years, and you came about a year or year and a half late. So that's why I decided that you will be studying at grade 1 because you didn't have enough knowledge yet. Does it make sense? But there will be some things will be repeated, but still I think from what do you remember that I was reading about the Buddha to be? From what is the earliest most place that you remember that I said about the Buddha, the childhood of Buddha?
Okay, so I remember you saying when like when the Buddha was born and the queen was going to visit her parents and then she born the Buddha and then he took 7 steps.
Okay, good. And did you do you remember that I would be reading it and explaining in very much detail, or do you remember that I would summarize that?
You would do it in very high detail.
Very high detail. So, do you remember anything about Silver and Golden Mountain?
I don't remember I don't remember about that yet.
Okay,
I don't
so
remember about it.
that means that you have probably missed some of the lectures. The very starting, one of the very first classes about the Buddha's birth contain information about Golden Mountain. So it seems something new or something to repeat that you need to know. Okay.
Hey, May?
All right, May. May, I'm listening. What can I do for you?
When you be talk about the Buddha.
Yes, you also were present during some of those lectures. So you will be repeating it, and so you can repeat it and you can remember it better and with more detail. Okay? May, what more can I do for you? May, what can I do?
Sir. about the Buddha?
Yes, we will be talking about the Buddha to be, not about the Buddha. Some time before he became a Buddha. Okay? We will be talking about the last life of the Buddha.
Man, you have the
Talking
most
about the
useless
birth.
questions ever.
We will be talking about the Buddha to be, how he was born, and then about his childhood, then how he went to the forest. That's in the syllabus, that's in the plan, teaching plan for this year. So you will be learning how the Buddha to be was born and about his childhood. Okay? Right. Did you understand? Perfect. Nathan, what can I do for you?
Nathan, come. Nathan, anyway.
Can I leave now?
Yes, please. Good night. Edward?
Night. Bye. So, what happens if like someone's in grade 2 and they're just like 8, but you have nothing more to teach them? Then what happens? Because you said it went up the way to 12. Then what happens?
Yeah, I see. So what if they start like when they're 6 years old and they follow 3 grades, right? So after 3 grades, because there are 3 grades for preteens and 3 grades for teens, so you actually finish the whole teaching plan. If you start when you're 6, you finish it when you're 9. So what will you be doing from your age 9 to 12? You will probably be helping me in teaching.
Well, my brother does a different class, so I guess yes. He's doing a different class.
Yes, that's different. So as soon as you finish the 3rd year, then I will invite you to come and assist me during teaching the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd year. And so you can be my assistant teacher. And you can then teach the others and share with them your experience and your knowledge.
Well, I've got the book.
Okay.
Okay. And also, can I leave?
Yes, please. Franklin?
Goodbye.
I leave too.
Yes. Good night. Rere?
Bye.
So like I used to be in your class and I remember about the Golden Mountain and
You remember the Golden Mountain? Nice. Okay. What was in the Golden Mountain? Who was there?
the queen,
That's right. The Queen Maya was there. Very good. Very good. Yes. So
the
you're
elephant.
repeating that. Yes, that's part of it. But I think next year you will be learning everything. Everything will be new for you next year. But this year, yes, something will be repeated so that we could change, to the system. So some of the things were new for you. Some of the things will be old for you. But from the next year, I expect that everything will be new for you. Okay, Robert?
I also remember the Gold and Silver Mountain that had Queen
Okay.
Maya there about the dream with the white elephant circling her.
Very good. Yes. So you will be repeating that. So thank you all for patience, those who are repeating, because thanks to your patience, it is possible for us to make it, systematic. Previously, it had no system. We had no year, we had no plan, we had nothing. It was just we meet and we do whatever we want. Now we are getting a system. Thanks to that system, it is sure that you learn a lot in a shorter time. Previously, what we did in 3 years, we are now doing in 1 year. So it's very fast, just because of the system. Okay, Jungwoo Kanfuong.
The Buddha eat poisonous mushroom.
I don't hear you. Can you come close to the camera and speak loudly?
Did the Buddha eat poisonous mushroom? Then he died.
That's a little complicated question. The word that's used here, Sukara Madhava, for the last meal of the Buddha, is translated by different people in different ways. Sukara Madhava, here Sukara means pig. Okay, it means a pig. Madhava means something like delicacy. So pig delicacy, pork delicacy. So there are some theories on what could that be. Could it be meat? Could it be mushroom? Could it be something else? Different people discuss this topic in various ways. But in Myanmar, the general agreement is that it was actually pork. So not mushroom. And the Buddha at that time, you know, in your belly, you have intestines, these long tubes. Do you know that? Do you know that in your belly there are these long tubes? And if you eat something, it goes through these tubes and then it ends up as a poop in the toilet? Do you know that?
Yeah.
You know it. Okay. So now these tubes, they need to be stuck on the belly, right? So that they do not fall all down. They need to be stuck on the belly a little, you know, so that they hold at the right place. Now, when people get old, this ability to be stuck on the belly of those intestines, of those tubes, is reduced, is smaller. So they gradually fall. And this is actually what happened to the Buddha. So his intestines gradually fell down. And that's why he also had diarrhea. Do you know what's a diarrhea? When you go to toilet and you have to spend there long time and it goes very slowly and very badly. Yeah, it's a disease. So the Buddha, when he was old, he had this problem. And when he ate this pork, this food was like the last drop. It was like the last food that his belly still could, you know, keep, that his intestines still could keep. And then they fell, or then they were not working properly. So the Buddha therefore fell ill and he passed away. He did not pass away because of the food. He passed away because he was old. Be careful. Many people misunderstand this, but the Buddha himself very clearly said that nobody should be disappointed about this food. It's true that people should be happy about the last food that the Buddha received, because when Buddhas receive the last food, it's the last food that is right before their Nibbana, their full Nibbana, and therefore it is a very meritorious food. However, the Buddha rejected that this food would cause him any harm. It's just that it was the last food before his old age would come, you know, to the last point. But it was not food that would be poisonous or dangerous for the Buddha himself. It would be dangerous for others, that's true, that's what the Buddha said, but not for the Buddha. Does it make any sense a little? A little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's a complicated thing, you know, there are written books about that. So it's a complicated thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in Myanmar, we do not accept that it's mushroom. No, it's pork.
Yeah.
The idea that it's mushroom is coming from Sri Lanka, from some Sri Lankan monks who wanted to show that the Buddha was a vegetarian, but the Buddha was not a vegetarian. Also, in other parts of our scriptures, we see that the Buddha was not a vegetarian. No, the Buddha rejected vegetarianism. Yeah,
Oh.
that's a surprise, right? You do not have to be vegetarian as a Buddhist. Yes, in Mahayana, yes. Not in our school of Buddhism. In our school of Buddhism, you can eat meat and fish if you are sure that it was not killed specifically for you. So, you know, there are some shops where you go, they have the chicken, you know, alive. And now you say, okay, I want a chicken. So they take this chicken, you know, they kill it and they sell it to you. So that's bad. That's prohibited. You cannot do that. You shouldn't do that. But if you just go to shop where are already killed animals, according to Buddhism, this is fine. According to our school. Okay, but if somebody kills it directly for you, then that's bad. Shouldn't kill it for you.
It's okay. I don't eat meat.
You don't eat meat? Okay.
I don't eat any meat. Any meat in the
Okay.
whole world.
And do you eat fish?
No, I
You
don't
don't eat fish?
eat any meat.
Okay, good. Do you eat some nuts and seaweed?
Really, I eat sushi with vegetables,
Okay.
I guess.
And do you get some nuts like walnuts or cashew nuts or peanuts? Do you get some nuts? Hmm. You don't remember?
I just eat, I have eat vegetables.
So you don't remember getting any nuts in the last 1 month?
Nuts.
No, yes.
I've got moto beans.
Beans? Okay, beans are pretty good. Okay. And when you get nuts, make sure that you eat all of them. The nuts are very good for you.
I got Spanish.
Spinach.
Yeah, I eat those.
Okay. Yeah, ideally you get some nuts also, like walnuts or cashew nuts or macadamia or peanuts or what else? Almonds. Yeah, that's good. And seeds also. I think they're called sunflower seeds, and pumpkin seeds. They're very good. If you don't eat fish, seeds are very good for you.
Sometimes I drink nuts milk. It's
Nuts milk.
nine kinds of nuts.
Okay, that's good. Very good. Okay, Baolam.
Every time my daddy makes some whole chicken for my big family to eat, he buy the live chicken and then he said the seller to kill it, and if I eat it, is it okay?
Excuse me, what did you say that that the chicken is where do you get the chicken from?
It's from my dad by it's still alive.
Oh, it's still alive. Uh-huh.
But my dad want to make some chicken, and then he said the shop to kill it. And then my sister cried, but she eat it. Is it okay? Is it okay when they...
So, what to say about that?
I think it's not okay because my dad said them to directly kill it. But my sister still eat it. But my mom and I eat avocados.
You and your mom eat avocados. Eating avocados is very good. Yeah. Eating avocados is very good. Nice. So our time is gone. Thank you everyone for coming. It was a pleasure to see you all. And I hope to see you next week. May you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you be successful in everything you do.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much, Bante. Everyone, can you please unmute? Everyone, can you please unmute? Can you put your hand at your chest, please? Everyone say bye, venerable sir.
Venerable sir. Venerable sir.
Nice. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye, Venerable Sir. Goodbye.